What if I told you that Sophocles would have been a huge supporter of the Air Force Academy? Let me explain what I mean by that. We talked a lot about the book Philoctetes by Sophocles as it applies to military members suffering during and post-war. And I think that that's very true today, but we've also read Pericles' funeral oration, and kind of the underlying tone of that message to the grieving people was to get over it. And so if that really was a little bit of the tone of the time, what else could Sophocles have been trying to convey with Philoctetes, if not soldiers suffering? And to understand that, I think it's important to look at what was going on at the time and to look at Sophocles himself. He was a general in the Athenian army, a very famous playwright, so that's the kind of important things about his life. And then he's also writing this towards the end of the Peloponnesian War, during which Athens was losing pretty poorly to Sparta. So if you look at that, I think that you can make the argument that Sophocles uses Neoptolemus in Philoctetes to emphasize the values he wants in his soldiers during the war, and to celebrate the values and ethics that Athens has cultivated so far. If you start with looking at, as a general, Sophocles, he is fighting these wars, and he wants his best soldiers. So not only does he want to recruit as many soldiers, and when I say recruit, obviously it wasn't quite the same volunteer army that we have today, but Athens was certainly less of a conscription service than Sparta was, who was their enemy at the time. So he did really want as many people to want to fight as possible, to support the war. So that's a minor thing. He accomplishes that, Sophocles does, by using Odysseus, who says, if you win the war, people will say you're clever and brave. And I know we don't really like Odysseus, but even so, he's known as a good warrior, so I think that message holds true. But going further, it's not just about getting soldiers, it's about getting the right soldiers. And you look at the study of Neoptolemus, he's against lying from the start. It makes him feel really uncomfortable. He's the son of Achilles, and Achilles is looked up to by every Athenian as like a great warrior, great character. So that also helps his point. And then he shows restraint. An important point of the story too is when Neoptolemus doesn't let Philoctetes shoot Odysseus, saying it would do neither of us any good. The rationalism going over what he emotionally wants at the time is admirable. And finally, he looks at he's very loyal to Philoctetes once he realizes that deceiving him was wrong to begin with. And I think that Sophocles is saying this time, like, yes, Odysseus is a great warrior, but Athens was losing the war pretty poorly. So if someone's making a poor decision and another action needs to be taken, like, don't be afraid to do it as a soldier. I think that the quote that best sums it up is when Neoptolemus says, "I would rather die honestly than win deceitfully." Going away from just the individual values that Sophocles wants, the culture of Greece at the time, or Athens, is very important to the Athenians. They have this word for arete, meaning moral excellence. And it's very important to them. They've cultivated one of the first and most successful republics. They've got individuals they look up to of high character. So it's very important to them. And I think that you also look at the importance of something called the Mytilenean debate, which happened in about 428 BC. So Sophocles would know about this. And Mytilenean debate happened at the beginning of the Peloponnesian War. Athens was trying to gather all their empire to fight against Sparta. And the Mytileneans revolted. They didn't want to fight, even though they had enjoyed being an Athenian empire the whole time. So Athens had a small conference one day and basically condemned the entire community, man, woman, child, to death. The next day, and they sent out ships to go to carry it out. The next day, they had a longer debate, and a man named Diodotus, who is an elderly gentleman, makes the case for why they shouldn't. And part of his reason is practical. He thinks that they would inspire hatred against the empire instead of compliance. But there's also the part where he makes that killing these people is unjust. And if a democracy has to be so one-sided and rush decisions during a war, it will never survive the war, which is important because it's the start of the Peloponnesian War. And this justice argument is interesting because Neoptolemus also uses this. When Odysseus claims that Neoptolemus can't fight the whole Athenian army to help the traitor Philoctetes. Neoptolemus replies, "Not with justice on my side. He shouldn't be afraid." So justice is a big thing. Sophocles wants Athens to hold on to these values. He knows that win or lose the war, it's important to keep these values that have made them so great. Sophocles wants great warriors with strong values and a great society to support them. He believes in officers with high values. It's not just about winning the war, it's about winning the war the right way. The overall mission here is to build officers with character, right? So we are the officers that Sophocles would have wanted. Thank you.